Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're exploring a world that literally shatters our conventional understanding of biology. We're looking at a planetary biosphere built entirely from the ground up on a highly radioactive anomaly. It's a wild journey, and it's going to force us to completely rethink the very chemical foundations of life itself.
So what if life wasn't powered by the sun, but by the relentless, chaotic decay of nuclear radiation? It's a pretty profound question, right? And this is the core biological mystery of Tarkesh. We're talking about a super-Earth located roughly 2.5 million light-years away from our own, relatively serene and stable solar system, nestled deep within the inner spiral arms of the Andromeda galaxy. Tarkesh orbits this tempestuous, pulsing red giant star known as S Andromedae Prime. Now, here on Earth, we absolutely rely on the sun for our biological energy. But on Tarkesh, life draws its power from something much darker and far, far more volatile.
To really understand this world, we have to understand its lifeblood, which is an element called technetium. Now on Earth, we actually call it the ghost element. Sitting right at atomic number 43, it possesses this profound nuclear quirk: 0 stable isotopes, none. Every single variation of it is radioactive. It decays so incredibly fast on a geological timescale that any primordial technetium that might have been present during a planet's formation, it vanishes long before the oceans can even cool down. Here on Earth, we literally only find it in microscopic trace amounts as a byproduct of uranium fission. But on Tarkesh, it is the absolute foundation, the literal energy currency of their entire biosphere.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because for a planet to actually sustain life on a radioactive, short-lived metal, it needs a continuous geochemical engine. And Tarkesh, it actively breeds this stuff right in its crust. So picture this. Deep underground, groundwater acts as a neutron moderator. When it hits these vast uranium veins, it triggers natural nuclear fission. Those released neutrons then bombard massive molybdenum-98 deposits, transmuting them into molybdenum-99, which then undergoes rapid beta decay to become technetium-99. This massive natural breeder network is constantly dredging freshly forged technetium straight to the surface through thermal vents. It's like a planetary-scale nuclear reactor.
Now, this geological engine drastically changes how life actually begins. Earth's abiogenesis, the origin of life, relied on geothermal heat, sunlight, and a relatively stable chemical soup. But on Tarkesh, the oceans are this shimmering, metallic violet black, just heavy with dissolved radioactive salts. The constant ionizing radiation from the technetium literally splits the water molecules. It's a process called radiolysis, and it creates a ubiquitous chemical gradient. So the very first carbon-based protocells evolved specifically to scavenge these radioactive ions, using specialized technetium-based technoporphyriums as the ultimate biological catalysts. Talk about adapting to your environment.
But early life didn't just stop at using those chemical gradients. It actually learned to harvest the radiation itself. This is called radiosynthesis. Instead of relying on external photons from a distant sun, the single-celled organisms of Tarkesh internalize their power source. They consume the radioactive technetium and concentrate it within these specialized organelles called radioplasts. Using highly specialized melanin-like polymers, these cells actually capture the high-energy beta particles emitted during atomic decay. Life on this planet literally went nuclear just to survive. And that intense nuclear foundation gives rise to some absolutely breathtaking biology. Just picture the isotope forests. Because pure carbon would quickly degrade under all that radiation, the trees of Tarkesh, known as silicodendrons, are built from this rigid silica-carbon hybrid matrix. Their deep black appendages are laced with radiotrophic melanin to capture energy, while their roots literally secrete acid to mine radioactive elements straight from the bedrock. And here is the craziest part. Once the internal technetium decays and becomes useless for energy, the trees simply excrete it. They sweat out these heavy metallic pods of stable ruthenium-99, quite literally paving the forest floor with stable elements.
This bizarre biological machinery creates a completely spectacular visual phenomenon. Because these forests don't rely on sunlight, they don't sleep in darkness. The ambient radiation, specifically the beta particles traveling incredibly fast through the thick cellular fluids of the plants, produces what is known as Cherenkov radiation. So the entire landscape pulses with this ethereal sapphire blue light. It's a hauntingly beautiful byproduct of literally 1 trillion tiny nuclear decays happening every single second inside the plants. It's like a glowing, radioactive wonderland.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how extreme radiation required hyper-redundant biological failsafes. Earth's fragile, wimpy, double-stranded helix DNA? Yeah, that wouldn't last a single day on Tarkesh. Instead, life there relies on what's called a polynucleolattice, or PNL. It's a massive, six-stranded, crystalline genetic structure. This provides hyper-redundant backups, and it's paired with an astonishing cellular regeneration rate to constantly rebuild radiation-damaged tissue. It's biological resilience turned up to 11.
And this extreme biology extends right on up the food chain. The fauna of Tarkesh basically act like highly efficient biological batteries. You have herbivores armored in thick, lead-laced chitin to block gamma rays, and inside they possess an isotope core. This is a literal internal nuclear reactor and heart combined, allowing for explosive bursts of speed. Because of this setup, apex predators, like the absolutely fearsome Cherenkov hounds, don't even hunt for meat. Nope, they track localized beta decay, ripping into their prey solely to consume that highly radioactive isotope core.
So, from this brutal, high-energy crucible of scavengers and predators, sentience eventually emerged. Meet the Kalen. They are the undeniable masters of Tarkesh. These beings adapted to the planet's heavy gravity with a hexapedal or six-legged lower body, and they're protected by a smooth, dark exoskeleton that's naturally infused with barium and lead. It's essentially a biological radiation suit. And get this, they don't have centralized eyes like we do. Instead, they possess a sensory ridge that allows them to see across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, taking in everything from infrared all the way up to gamma rays.
But the Kalen's incredible biology comes with a really harsh reality, which they call the ruthenium sickness. For us, aging is just gradual cellular breakdown. But for the Kalen, aging is a literal, unavoidable atomic transmutation. As they live, the volatile technetium within their cells continuously decays into inert ruthenium. In their youth, they burn with a bright blue Cherenkov glow and move with blazing speed. But as they age, that stable ruthenium ash physically builds up inside them. They become physically heavier, much slower, and colder, their glow shifting to a bruised violet, until they reach total, absolute atomic stillness.
This inescapable biological reality dictates their entire psychology. They don't view time as some abstract concept the way we do. For the Kalen, time is the physical, tangible conversion of one element to another. As the quote goes, time has a mass. Time has a half-life. It is a literal heavy weight accumulating within their very bodies. Can you imagine? That inescapable biological clock fundamentally shapes their entire perception of existence.
That deeply unique relationship with radioactive decay forged a civilization unlike any other we've seen. Honestly, they achieved a nuclear renaissance before they even discovered the wheel. Their Bronze Age was defined by mastering isotopic separation and building these massive heavy water aqueducts to artificially trigger neutron fluxes. Their cities are brutalist marvels. We're talking giant ziggurats of obsidian, lead, and graphite that actually act as artificial breeder reactors. It's a highly stratified society where isotope lords control purified technetium to grant themselves longer lives. And they are bound together by a religion, the path of the transmutation, that reveres their red giant star as the ultimate source of life.
So the crucial point is, what happened when this advanced civilization finally looked outward? Developing rocketry through brute force nuclear pulse propulsion, they built orbital telescopes and started mapping the cosmos. But instead of finding a universe teeming with vibrant radioactive life, they discovered a truly horrifying truth. Technetium was a cosmic anomaly. Out in the vast quiet spaces of the galaxy, any primordial technetium had long since decayed into dust. They couldn't find the ghost element anywhere else.
This triggered a profound, civilization-wide existential crisis. Imagine humanity looking up at the stars and realizing that water simply didn't exist anywhere else in the universe. That's exactly what this realization was for them. They realized they are prisoners of their own biology. To ever leave their planet, they'd have to drag their entire nuclear breeding infrastructure with them. To us, the cosmos is this sprawling, open garden of possibility. But to the Kaolan, the universe is an infinite, barren desert. It's a tragic realization of ultimate cosmic isolation.
Faced with this ultimate cosmic isolation, Kylan's civilization fractured into two completely distinct ideological factions. Now, on one side, you have the isolationists. They believe in accepting their fate, focusing entirely inward to carefully manage Tarkesh's finite planetary uranium reserves, preparing to eventually fade away quietly when the ores finally deplete.
But on the other side are the ascendants. They wholly refuse extinction. Their ideology dictates that if the universe will not naturally provide technetium, they will violently re-engineer the universe to breed it. Both sides offer a fascinating response to an impossible situation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the Ascendants' defiance. I mean, it is staggering. They embarked on the most ambitious engineering projects in the Andromeda galaxy. They aren't building a Dyson swarm for solar energy, they're building it to physically dredge the outer atmosphere of their star for isotopes, firing them back to Tarkesh in heavily shielded kinetic pods. They are carving generation ships out of solid asteroids and steering these fusion-powered arcs directly into the most violent environments in the galaxy, like the accretion disks of black holes and the orbital paths of magnetars. All of this just to find the high neutron flux zones they need to survive.
The story of Tarkesh and the Kylan completely upends all our assumptions about habitability. It proves that given enough time and a profound energy gradient, biology isn't inextricably bound to the exact chemistry of Earth. On Tarkesh, life seized upon a ghostly, unstable phantom of an element to drag itself up into sentience. It is a brilliant, radioactive flash fighting valiantly against the inevitable weight of time and the long, dark, stable void of the cosmos.
Please like and subscribe.